Pasuk says, Neir Hashem nishmas Adam. The soul of a human being is HaKadosh Baruch Hu's candle. The candle of HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the light of consciousness, is the light of awareness. When a person is actually aware of who he is spiritually, then his candle has been lit. Until that day, a person has the potential to realize himself spiritually, but in the meantime, he's in darkness. And this the Torah calls exil. Exil b'choshech choilech. A fool walks in the darkness. And this foolishness is called in the Torah wickedness. Rishoim b'choshech yidomi. And the evil in the darkness, they imagine themselves. Because evil is foolishness. Evil is a person who is not spiritually aware, running his life in accordance with the information that he received from his senses. That's called darkness. It's darkness because a person like that cannot differentiate between what's real and what's imagined. What's good and what's evil. What's helpful and what's going to hurt him and the people around him. And this is because in order for us to understand ourselves, more information is necessary than what we can pick up with our five senses. Our five senses will not give us the data that we need in order to know what we're supposed to do. And so as long as a person is relying only on the five senses in order to understand what he needs to do, he's exil. He's a fool. And therefore, because he's a fool, he's evil. Because inevitably, a fool will cause pain. And so we have to learn how to distinguish between what's real and what's not real. What's true? What did HaKadosh Baruch Hu create? And what's false? What did man's imagination, man's delusions create? And so, to be here in this world is to have a purpose, to have desires, to have things you want, things you try to accomplish. And so the truth wouldn't be for somebody to say, if HaKadosh Baruch Hu created everything, then I don't need to do anything. Because HaKadosh Baruch Hu created everything, including you. He created you that you should be acting a certain way. So the question is not if we should be active or we shouldn't be active. The question is, how should we be active? And therefore, the five senses are not sufficient to inform our decision. Because choosing how to act means having a connection to something that's beyond what we've seen outside of us. Each of us is an individual. Each of us is different than everybody else. And so we have to bring something outside of ourselves that's going to allow us to gain access to the being that only we are, that nobody else is, that nobody else ever was and nobody else ever can be. And so when we look at life, our mind is going to be receiving information from our nature, from our heart, as well as from our ego, from our illusions, about who we are and what it means to be us. And we have to learn to tell the difference between thoughts coming from our nature and thoughts coming from our ego. If a person has a desire, some desires come from our nature, some desires come from our ego. If we listen to the desires of our nature, then we're doing what's right. If we don't listen to them, then we are ruining something. And the same goes the opposite way. If we listen to the desires of our ego, then we're ruining something. If we don't listen, then we're doing it right. So if we don't know how to differentiate, we're certainly causing some kind of damage. And so this requires that we know our nature better, so we understand what it really means to be us. What would be natural for us to desire, and what's artificial? What do we desire based on conditioning? If we want a certain type of car, for example, that's certainly not in our nature. Our nature doesn't know cars. That can only be coming from the ego. If we want peace, the ego has nothing to gain from us having peace. That's our nature requiring us to be peaceful. We can't have full access to ourselves unless we're at peace. That's nature speaking. And so we have to learn to differentiate between our instincts, between our impulses, between our behaviors, to understand ourselves better and to realize where we're helping ourselves and where we might be causing damage. And so this is why when Yovan came around, the term choshech was used to describe how the world changed. Shechshichu einaim shel Yisrael, the eyes got dark, the eyes could no longer see. Only the five senses of the body are bringing in information, but there is no spiritual truth anymore. We can't anymore differentiate what's real and what's not real, what's us and what's the conditioning, what's somebody else talking inside of us, what's the el zar shebegufa shel adam that's causing him to feel and want and think things that are completely against his nature and are going to destroy his well-being. And so the narratives of Hanukkah are here to help us remember that there is a light that's hidden. Don't assume that your experience represents reality. It doesn't. There's a reason it's not good. There's a reason that people today don't have it easy, even though from the outside, based on our five senses, we have everything that we need. There's something that we're not experiencing that we're supposed to be experiencing. We've been disconnected from something that's very important. And that's our heart. To understand how to interact with life, with people, with reality, and not only to understand it intellectually, but to experience it, to be it, to live in that reality fully. And as long as we won't have children growing up in a society that behaves that way, it's going to be on each individual to fix themselves. Because once the habits, once the thoughts, once the ideas and beliefs are ingrained within the mind, it's already a big work to clean it. And we've been tasked with that task. We don't have any other choice. Our only way to help ourselves, to help our future, to help our children, to help humanity, is to use ourselves as a model for improvement of how we can make better human beings. And this is the light that we're supposed to light within the galus, within the darkness. By the Yevonim it says, V'timu kol hashmanim, they were metama all the oils. We know that oil is remez l'chochma. Once a person doesn't have light, once a person doesn't have spirit, then all his wisdom, everything that he picked up from books and from shiurim and from ideas and listening and understanding, as long as the spirit is not awake, as long as there is no light within that being, all of it is tameh. All of it is going to be used in the wrong context and for the wrong purpose. Because once a person lives in that mindset, once a person perceives reality just from the senses, he doesn't see the bigger picture, he doesn't understand that these are just servants of a bigger being, of a much more important being, then his behavior is going to reflect that mistake. The Torah is going to serve for him as a sama movis. It's going to make his view of life even more irritated, because he's not going to understand who it's all serving. He's not going to understand what the purpose of it all is. And that's why the galus becomes so dark, is that the further we go away from understanding who we are serving and why, the more the same information becomes an enemy, becomes dark, it becomes twisted, it becomes misunderstood. It becomes an enemy of the human spirit instead of being its friend. That when galus happens, it's like HaKadosh Baruch Hu takes away from us the only one that can console us, which is the Torah, which is the wisdom. And when we misunderstand the wisdom, when we don't have a heart, when we don't have our connection to the spiritual, and we don't understand who a human being is, then we can't fully appreciate what HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave us. We can't really connect to the message that's supposed to give us condolence, that's supposed to help us have strength, give us the power to be generous, to be kind, even in a dark reality, even in a time where people have forgotten who they are, where people think that they're just machines, they're just bodies. They don't realize that a human being is much more than a body. A body is just a placeholder. A body is not even a small percentage of what we are. A body is not even the language of who we are. The body is the servant. Don't confuse the servant for the master. And so, Hanukkah is about the Chanukah Sabayis. The Chanukah Sabayis means a person that comes to realize again that there's a divine being within his heart, that there's something real that he has the potential to discover, because the ancient people knew that truth, and they wanted us to know that truth. They knew that the cultures that are coming are not going to give us access to that truth. And they needed us to know that this is the truth. Don't waste your time on this planet assuming that you can simply copy everybody and that's the best way to go. Think for yourself. Wake up your heart. Feel. Recognize. Realize. Look at the people around you. Real Torah, a community that's based on Torah, needs to have as one of its most important foundations human interaction, good midas. V'nodem lachaveiroi. Any community that doesn't have that is not Jewish in behavior, regardless of the costume. There's a wisdom to how life works that only if we respect that reality are we really Jewish. As soon as we remove ourselves from reality, as soon as we lose our heart, the Zohar says those people, they represent the Erev Rav. They represent the other cultures that infiltrated into our culture. And so this is how we can tell if somebody's Jewish or somebody's not Jewish. You don't look at the costume, you don't even look at the body. You look at the behaviors to see the heart. And only by the heart do you recognize a Jew. Is there somebody in there that's Rachmanim, Baishonim, Goim Lechasodim? Then there's a Jew inside. If not, then this body has been infiltrated by bad forces. The evil spirits have taken over that body. He's no longer with us. He belongs to the other side. And so we have to be very careful for ourselves, for our children. These diseases, the diseases of the spirit, are very real and very contagious. But it requires awareness, it requires light. It requires a conscious heart to understand what it really means to interact with another human being. How careful we have to be. Because these are real worlds colliding with each other. This is reality that's going to define reality for the future, for eternity. If we would understand the importance of every single thought that we have, just one thought, if we would understand what that does to our future, how that affects the entire trajectory of who we are and who we're going to be, then we would take life and we would cherish every moment. We would make it what we want to be. We would create the self that we really want to have. But the five senses can distract us. The physical senses can make us think that the truth is outside of us. And then we create by happenstance. Then the us that we shall be building just happens by mistake. And so Hanukkah is a wake-up call to all of us. Wake up from your slumber. Wake up from your illusions. Wake up from what you think is important. Wake up from whatever your ego got stuck on. And look at life. Life needs your help. Life needs us to get this right. If the previous generations would have gotten it right, we wouldn't have been suffering. We're suffering because the conditions didn't allow for our grandparents to do it better. And so we have easier conditions, we have to focus. We have to try to get it right. If we had their will with our conditions, then it would be easy. But we've been confused. We've been traumatized. We've been neglected. We've been through whatever we've been through. But we're still here. It's still just as real as it ever was. The reward's just as big. The frustration just as hard. It's up to us to try to do it differently. To try to make a difference. We're living anyway, we're doing it anyway. Why not do it better? Why not help the people around us? Why not make sure that we never cause anybody else harm in any way? Because this is at the core of what it means to have a Beis HaMikdash. This is the reason the Beis HaMikdash was Charev. This is the reason we can have a Beis HaMikdash, if we can ever have one, is because we can learn how to love each other as one. Ki ish echad b'leiv echad. We can unite our hearts as one heart, and when we do that, we unite with God Himself, Kaviyachol. And so, Chanukah is about waking up that reality within us, remembering what's within our DNA, what's within our genes, even though it's not in our minds, even though we don't understand it yet. But it's there. It's the one that's creating our mind and allowing it to think in the first place. So let's pay attention to the one that's thinking in us. And this is what allows Kaviyachol, the intelligence that created life, to be pleased with its creation. When we become who He wants us to be, when we recognize our nature, then the intelligence that created us rejoices. This is ultimately what He wants from us. This is ultimately what He's waiting for, is for us to recognize, to wake up, to realize who we really are. And as soon as that will happen, we'll be zoichet to the Gula Shleima, Meher B'Yameinu.